The knock on the door was soft, almost hesitant, like someone unsure if they even deserved to be heard. Ethan Hayes, a billionaire real estate mogul, rarely answered his own door. In fact, he was barely ever home, his mansion more of a resting stop between meetings and business trips than a place of comfort. But on this cold, rainy afternoon, something compelled him to pause his conference call and walk toward the grand entrance. Maybe it was the way the world outside looked, gray and unkind. Maybe it was that deep part of his soul that still remembered what it was like to be poor. He opened the door, expecting a delivery man or perhaps a neighbor's kid asking for donations. Instead, he saw her, soaked from head to toe, clothes clinging to her thin frame, with mud splattered over her sneakers and sleeves. Her hair was tangled and wet, sticking to her face. She looked no older than 20, though life had clearly aged her in ways time never could. Her voice cracked, and her eyes didn't meet his when she spoke. "Can I clean your house for a plate of food?" Ethan didn't answer. He couldn't. He was frozen not by the desperation in her voice, but by the face he hadn't seen in almost a decade. "Zoe," he whispered. She looked up, confused. "How do you know my name? That face?" It didn't make sense, but it was her. Or someone who looked too much like her. 12 years ago, Ethan had lived in a rundown apartment in the Bronx. He was no millionaire back then. Just a janitor trying to pay night college fees and support his dying mother. There was a girl he saw every day on the subway, young, fearless, always sketching in her notebook. They'd exchanged smiles, a few small talks about art and dreams. Her name was Zoe. Then one day, she just stopped showing up. And for years, he'd wondered what happened to her, this woman at his doorstep, battered, hungry, broken, looked like the girl from the train, only life had taken its toll. He invited her in without another word. The warmth of the mansion swallowed her whole. She hesitated at the entrance, eyes scanning the marble floors and crystal chandeliers like she had stepped into another dimension. Ethan grabbed a towel, offered her clean clothes from the guest room, and asked the housekeeper to prepare a hot meal. Still stunned, he sat across from her as she devoured the soup and bread. The way she held the spoon tight, shaking, told him she hadn't eaten properly in days. When she finally calmed, she began to speak. Her name was Zoe indeed. But she didn't remember Ethan, not at first. Her life had been a whirlwind since. Her father died when she was 16. Her mother remarried a man who saw her as a nuisance, a threat. At 17, she ran away, chasing dreams of being an artist. But dreams in the city are expensive, and trust is a dangerous currency. A few bad decisions, a stolen backpack, a lost ID, and suddenly, she had no way home. "I always thought I'd get back on my feet," she said, not looking at him. "I took odd jobs, stayed in shelters, but lately, I can't even afford bread. And I was so tired of stealing. I just wanted to earn a meal. That's all." Her voice cracked, and for a moment, the mansion was so quiet it felt sacred. Ethan didn't sleep that night. His thoughts raced. He kept replaying the memory of the girl on the subway and the woman now sleeping in his guest room. He remembered how kind she was to him back then, offering him a smile when his mother's treatments were failing. When the world felt unbearably heavy. The next morning, he made a decision. He offered Zoe a real job, personal assistant, managing his art investments. She hesitated, almost suspicious, thinking it was pity. But Ethan looked her in the eye and said, "I remember the way you used to draw on the train. You dreamed of art. Let's bring that back." Over the weeks that followed, she learned to trust him. It wasn't easy. Trauma had left scars on her mind, and simple things like sitting at a table with polished people made her sweat. But Ethan, despite his fortune, never treated her like a project. He treated her like a person. He introduced her to his team, helped her rebuild her identity, and got her into therapy with a kind counselor who had once been homeless herself. Slowly, Zoe began to transform. She cut her hair, replaced her worn-out sneakers with boots Ethan gifted her, and started sketching again. One evening, Ethan found a canvas in her room. It was a painting of a subway cart. Two people sitting across from each other, him and her. That moment they shared, frozen in time. He stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "You did remember me." Tears filled her eyes. "I never forgot. I just didn't think you were real." Months passed. Zoe held her first art exhibit, a small one, funded by Ethan. Her pieces told stories of survival, hunger, loneliness, and quiet hope. Critics were moved, not by her technique but by her soul. One day, after the exhibit closed and the lights dimmed, she stood next to Ethan, looking out over the city skyline. "You saved me," she said. "No," Ethan replied. "You saved me. Back then, when I had nothing, your smile reminded me life could still be beautiful." She laughed gently, brushing a tear away. Funny how things come full circle. The story could have ended there neatly, beautifully. But life is never that simple. There were more challenges ahead, more healing to do. But they faced it together, not as millionaire and beggar, not as savior and saved, but as two souls who had once been broken, and now chose to rise. And to anyone watching, wondering if kindness really can change a life, Ethan and Zoe's story would always whisper back, "Yes, it can." Zoe's journey from a starving girl at a stranger's doorstep to a celebrated artist standing beside the very man she once unknowingly inspired is a powerful reminder that a single act of kindness can change everything. Ethan's willingness to see beyond her appearance and Zoe's courage to ask for help prove that compassion, not wealth, is what truly transforms lives. In a world that often turns its back on the broken and forgotten, this story reminds us that second chances can lead to extraordinary beginnings. Sometimes the most life-changing moments come not from grand gestures, but from a knock on the door and the decision to open it.